Today's budget tip is to track your expenses as often as you interact or spend on your most challenging line item. For most of you listening, that's going to be groceries. That's going to be your food line item in your budget. I personally think that this is because grocery stores are excellent at getting us to just spontaneously spend. In America, there was a study that was done on grocery store purchases and what percentage of purchases are planned and which ones are unplanned. And just over 50% of purchases are unplanned at the store. They're spontaneous, they're on a whim, or you go into the store and you don't even know what you're looking for. Because of this, I'm going to have a whole episode down the road where I talk about breaking down grocery stores and budgeting tips and how to stay on track. And part of that is going to have to be tracking your budget. And today's tip is that you have to be putting in what you're spending throughout the month into your budget so you can see what's left. And I say that you should do this at least as often as your most troubled category. And I'm going to stick with groceries as an example. Now, let's say you go to the store once a week on the weekends to buy food for the coming week, and you do like a weekly meal plan. That's what Amanda and I like to do. Well, as you're spending money, each time you go to the store, you need to have an idea in your head, how much am I going to be able to spend while I'm at the store? How much am I allowed to spend for this particular instance, and how many more times am I going to have to spend for this category? If it's the first time that month and there are 3 more weekends coming, well, I got to spend roughly a quarter of my grocery budget. I could maybe go a little higher, but if I do, I need to recognize that it's going to reduce the amount that I spend on subsequent trips. But I'm not going to know how much I have left to spend on the following trips throughout the month as I go to buy groceries unless I keep the budget updated. Early in our marriage, before our weekly grocery trip, and we used to do those together, I enjoyed going shopping with Amanda back when the grocery store was just walking distance from our place in Utah. But we would update the budget before we went, and we would say, okay, here's how much we have to spend on this weekly trip for groceries. Then we would take it and figure, okay, let's take the tax out of that, and we know how much we can buy before tax. With that number in mind, we would take not only a list to the store, but we would take a calculator. As you put stuff in the cart, we would just add up what we were spending on the calculator. It's really difficult when you're buying like 50, 60 different items from the store, and a bunch of them are tiny and little. And some of them are, you have to weigh it in order to know how much you're actually spending, like bananas or onions or potatoes. And you're doing all this shopping, you're just putting stuff in the cart, you're filling out the list. Well, you could be way overspending your budget and not even know it. So taking a calculator to the store really helped us know what we were spending, and we would get to the checkout line, and I would find it a fun game to say, all right, I'd look at the cashier and I'd say, I need you to keep it under, let's say, 120. Or I'd be more specific. I need you to keep it under $111.38. And it would be real close to that. I'd never get it exactly perfect, but I'd be close enough to know that we weren't killing the budget. There were so many months after we got in the good practice of updating the budget, looking at how much we needed to spend, and then taking a calculator to the store where we were within like $1 of our budget for the month on food. And that's about as close to perfect as you can do when it comes to managing your food budget. And to drive the budget tip home today, today's budget tip is to update your budget at least as often as you spend on your most troubling category.